Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why it's time to be very concerned about Dak Prescott.
What time is that? I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Aaron Judge is already the face of baseball. He is. Speak for yourself starts now.
Gotta be concerned about Dak. Sophomore slump happened.
Don't buy it.
We'll get into it. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Mark Schlereth, one of the Denver Broncos' best players of all time, and Ray Lewis, one of the 20 or 30 best Ravens of all time, is also here. Pretty good linebacker as well. All right, let's start in Dallas, where the Cowboys host the Packers Sunday and are looking to rebound from their shocking loss to the Rams last week. Last season, Dak Prescott was almost perfect, guiding the Cowboys and their powerhouse offense to their best season in years. But as you see there, Dak has taken a big step back this year with huge drops in completion percentage, yards per attempt, and passer rating. And he's thrown 3 interceptions already this year after only throwing 4 all of last season. Cowherd, is it fair to say Dak is having a sophomore slump?
No, totally overstated. First of all, here's the truth about Dallas. This wide receiver core is marginal. It's marginal.
And it was awesome last year.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
The running game was great in the O-line. They have a 35-year-old tight end, going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's a 35-year-old tight end. Dez no longer separates. Bryce Butler's nice, not special. This wide receiving core's average, and they have faced Denver's secondary, the Rams' defensive front, the Giants' defense in Arizona. These numbers are all going to improve this weekend when they face Green Bay's defense and Green Bay's secondary. This is all about who they faced and what they've become over the last 12 months, which is marginal on the perimeter.
Listen, we all came into the season, and I was the big proponent. I thought Dak was going to step up. I didn't expect their offensive line to maintain that stellar play from a year ago. Obviously, Zeke Elliott's had some off-field issues. There was a cloud over his head. Dez Bryant's a year older. Jason Witten's a year older. Those are all fine points. But at some point, the quarterback is I was anticipating him stepping up, not stepping back. Listen, all those things are great context, and there's truth to all of them. But I think it's fair to say right now, 4 games in the season, this looks like a sophomore slump.
I look at this, and I look at Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott, I think, is a great young player. But that's just it. He's still a young player. Mm-hmm. And when you have a situation like they had last year where your running back averages over 5 yards a carry on first down, and, oh, by the way, had over, I believe, 1,000 yards on first down last year, on first down, you have to, as a defense, you have to present 8-man boxes, single high safeties, and you've got to be one-on-one somewhere, right? There's on the edges, you're getting one-on-ones, and you're getting them consistently. And then all of a sudden, you flag that ball out there, and you show that defense, and you've got Ray Lewis and everybody else jumping to stop that run. The over-the-top, all of a sudden, you throw a wide hook over the top of the ball, and that's an easy 9-yard completion 100% of the time. It's different right now. They're not running the ball like that. They're not dominating the line of scrimmage. They're not always getting 8-man fronts. This is the learning curve that he's going through right now, and you know what? That
sounds like a slump to me.
No, it ain't no slump.
Dallas, everyone knows from last year, you see Zeke come in, Dak come in. This is a run-first offense, period. And exactly what Mark is saying, where you're saying it's a slump, the entire team is in a slump. That entire offense is in a slump with what they do very well. Because if they don't put Dak in those type of positions, then it doesn't look the same for Dak. And of course, we go directly to the quarterback and say, oh man, the quarterback is having a bad year. But I want you to, if you go back and watch the last 2 or 3 games, I was just paying attention to certain things. Zeke touches the ball on first down, he don't touch it again for 3 downs. That's not Dallas style of football. Dallas style of football is get that beast running. Yeah. And once you get him running, everything starts to change for the Dallas
They are
Cowboys.
a run team.
Right.
They are a run team.
But when you average 5 yards a carry on first down, you know what's open? Your entire playbook is open, right? When all of a sudden it's second down and 11, you're in trouble. Left guard, The change in left guard that's really hurt them. Right tackle. And I know Collins is a beast when he was inside. He's struggling out there. When you get out there in the water,
Space.
I mean, there's like, I know I was a pretty good guard. I know if I went out in the water, I wouldn't have lasted very long in the NFL. I couldn't play out there.
There's stats I always look at. Yards per play. Dallas is 12th. Considering you face Denver Rams, Arizona Giants, not terrible. That's a big Vegas stat. Also 3 and outs. They're among the lowest in the league. They faced Denver Ram, Arizona Giants. Green Bay, you just watch this weekend. If you told me there's going to be a blowout in the NFL this weekend, I'd tell you Dallas. They're going to commit to the run, and they're going to face, for the first time in a month, a defensive line they can push around a little.
The guy was the talk of the NFL,
Yes.
Rookie of the Year. He was everything. And so are things not as efficient around him as they were a year ago? Is it not an unreasonable expectation for your quarterback to plug some of those gaps and to, while you're playing this tough schedule, while you're figuring things out with your offensive line? That's what we expect out of quarterbacks.
We do expect that, but you ask anybody who coaches in this league, they'll tell you a quarterback doesn't really know what he likes and what he doesn't like until he experiences it all, and it takes about 3 years. This guy's
Second year.
Right. What has he played? He played 16 last year, he played 4, he's played 20 games in his NFL career. That's not a whole lot of
Ray
games.
crowned him last year.
To
I'm still crowned.
Yeah.
To Pittsburgh, where Antonio Brown's sideline tantrum on Sunday drew criticism from both Big Ben Roethlisberger and Coach Mike Tomlin this week. Today, Antonio Brown issued an apology, tweeting, quote, "Apologize for all the noise and distraction, Steeler Nation. Let's stay focused, push for 7. Big Ben was asked about the incident again today.
When you mentioned distraction, what kind of distractions could there be?
Well, but we're over now. You know, we moved on to Jacksonville. It's Wednesday. It's Jacksonville week, and this is a really good defense. So we don't have time to think about anything else other than that right now.
All right, Whitlock, you think Brown will continue to be a distraction?
I love Big Ben's answer there because it is when it's time to move on, let the past be the past. Yeah, Antonio Brown is a wide receiver. He's a diva wide receiver. He's going to do his best. He'll be on his P's and Q's this week, but eventually this season he'll revert back to the guy that brings Facebook Live into the locker room, throws tantrums on the field. He's going to be Antonio Brown, but right now, both Big Ben and the head coach, Mike Tomlin, have come at the guy. He's responding well. He's saying the right things. He'll do better for a short period, and then he'll be a diva wide receiver.
I agree. If you look at the NFL historically, generally this is the way it works. Closer to the ball, offensive linemen, Mike linebackers, not generally, you're an exception, high emotion players. They get the job done, they're team captains, center, guard. Further away from the ball, high emotion players.
Let me just clarify, though. Ray was high emotion in pregame warm-ups. He was a doctor, very strategic in the game, but go ahead.
But the point being, we have a history here. There are certain groups and units. Offensive line tends to be almost academic, choreography, head down, work as a unit. Wide receivers tend to be, we break the huddle first, we are in one-on-one situations, you put your fastest, most athletic guy close to the sideline. So I think over time we have a history here. If I said to you NFL diva, you'd name 15, 12 are wide receivers. That's the position.
But this is what makes leadership so key. Anybody else carries that story the next 4 or 5 days. I said this earlier. I guarantee you the moment Ben left the locker room and whatever he said on his radio show, the first person he called was AB. And he said something simple, cut it out. It's time to play for Steeler football. That's why AB comes out and says the exact same thing. Look, sorry, my bad for the distraction. Look, this is an emotional game. Like, people play at different emotions, and everybody looks at it differently. You take that game, that context of that game. You're talking about Baltimore, in Baltimore, division rival, who you don't really like them. And you're wide open, and you got a dance already in your head, already made up in Baltimore. Yeah. And you don't get to do that dance?
Right.
I'm mad too. But he has to control that. But I think the biggest thing out of this was the leadership of Roethlisberger coming back and say, it's Wednesday. We got Jacksonville coming in here. Ain't no way we're going to go back and talk about what Antonio Brown done.
Right.
Here's the thing that I look at Antonio and great players. Odell Beckham Jr. You play the most dependent position on a football field. Yeah. If I don't do my job, tight ends don't do their job, the running backs don't do their job, the quarterback doesn't do his job, you will never sniff a football. And my fear for guys like that, guys that, you say, I'd like to buy him for what he's worth and sell him for what he thinks he's worth, because I'd make a lot of money doing that. When you start to lose your skill set, that's when I fear for those guys being more of a flash in the pan. Now, he's a great player, man. He's a way greater player than I ever even dreamed of being. The guy is awesome. But eventually you lose your skill sets. And if you don't have the complete and total knowledge of the game, that's when careers all of a sudden you say, God, what happened to that guy?
Yeah.
What happened to that guy? There's a reason guys like Ray last forever and still play at a high level, because there was a time at the end of his career where he couldn't run like he did when he was a rookie, and I played him when he was a rookie. Like, that dude had a rocket strapped on his back. But he still always found a way to get to the play because of the knowledge of the game and the understanding of what's going on. And you have to recognize that everybody, all 10, have to do their job for you ever to get fed.
Right.
And that becomes that leadership component that you're talking about, that guys just need to start to understand that.
Ryan Grant, a broadcaster, former Steeler, he had Ryan Clark, excuse me, I don't know why I said Ryan Grant. Ryan Clark came out and he said, listen, he's doing a good job of spinning it, but he loves Antonio Brown. He's selfish. Now, this is kind of a no BS guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a bottom line guy, not a lot of flash. He's just telling you what he's seeing, and he's saying, he's selling you guys, he's spinning you on team guy. This is a guy that does Facebook in a locker room.
No. And Ryan Clark is right, and that's why I give Big Ben and Mike Tomlin credit. They're going to have to monitor and stay on Antonio Brown. Again, he'll be marvelous this week. There probably won't be any outbursts. He'll have a great game. But as the season progresses, they'll be back. Hey, AB, cut it out. Hey, there'll be more of this, but you got to deal with it. Mark, I think you make the great point. I think of Chris Carter and why he was able to play 16, 17 years.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
You don't ever hear anything from Julio Jones, and Julio Jones is as good as it gets. At some point,
They'll get it. Those guys, Fitzgerald and Julio, get an extra contract because the coaches know they won't be as fast, but they'll like what'd you say the other day? Just because you play in the NFL doesn't.
Just because you play professional, or just because you play a pro sport doesn't make you professional.
Welcome back, Ray Lewis, Mark Schlereth. Here we go. Let's move to New England, where the Patriots have been very un-Patriot-like. After Sunday's loss to Carolina, Tom Brady complained about the officiating. Gronk joined in, saying the refs haven't been consistent enough. You could say the same about New England's league worst defense. Now, Whitlock, we both admire what they've become systematically, but do you trust Belichick to turn the Patriots around?
That doesn't sound like a Belichick team making excuses. That sounds like me, a guy that had some money on the game and didn't like the officiating. Listen, no, I really don't, and that's not a knock on Belichick or Brady they just got too many issues. Their defense has some personnel problems that'll be hard to overcome. Gronkowski just showed up today on the injury report. We've already got Edelman out with an injury. Brady doesn't have a security blanket in Edelman. He's getting hit too often for 40 years old or even for 30 years old. I just don't think the Magic Pixie Dust, the Tom Herman, the Texas coach is talking about, I don't think Belichick's going to be able to sprinkle that on this Patriots team. There's a problem here.
Well, most great coaches, college or pro, are great teachers. They listen, they adapt, and they teach. They take Mark and say, you're a guard, not a tackle. They take Ray and say, we're going to put a little weight on. You're not a safety, you're a backer. Great coaches teach. And that's why Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll's teams are not very good in September and are great later. If you go look at Bill Belichick's record, he experiments, he listens, he watches in September, he adapts, and in October, December. Remember, he turned around a team in the Super Bowl in a half. I think he's the league's best teacher.
He's fixing this.
They've got no pass rusher, but he is a secondary coach. They will get better.
Here's what scares me, and this just goes from years of playing against them.
Yeah.
They were the most well-coordinated team that I played against. And the thing about that is they had players with versatility that played a bunch of different positions. And when you break the huddle, the first thing I want to know is, you in a 4-down line, you in a 3-down line, who are the downs, who are the bigs, and who are the backers? And they'd mill around, and they had a bunch of guys with duality that could play a bunch of different positions. And they became very hard to designate for us. What are they in? To be able to do that, you have to have smart players. And they had the smartest players. They had more college graduates on their roster than any other team in the league. You have to have smart players. And I'm just wondering that what you see on a week-to-week basis is breakdowns in the secondary, breakdowns in coverage, breakdowns at the linebacker with guys running wide open, where you run the same formation 2 times in a game against Carolina, and 2 times you've got a wide open receiver because of busting coverage. That to me says you guys don't understand what we're trying to do.
Yes.
And that's
Not athletic, it's just you don't know the system.
Right. Now, is it fixable? Not if you don't have smart players. It's not fixable. Like, you can be, there's an old saying I like to say. You can be fast and dumb. We can find a system for you to play in. You can't be slow and dumb. You slow and dumb, you're looking for work. And right now, right, me too. But you better, to fix it, you better have the smart enough players to fix it.
Because the only thing that comes with a smart enough player is chemistry. If the wide open plays he's talking about in the Carolina game, I'm sitting there saying, how does that same play happen back to back? And
Right.
I'm losing my mind watching the television. And I'm saying, there's nobody communicating. It's one thing about the Patriots defense you've always paid attention to. The Willie McGinnises, the Ty Laws, the Brewskis. Man, that was a communicative group. Man, they talking everything out. They calling out formations. They calling out who's getting the ball next. Is it run or pass? And then when you watch them play right now,
They're lost.
they're lost. You don't see that. You see passes being completed and guys looking like this. Like, whose fault is that?
Well, and also, it should be noted, this team, Belichick sensing Brady's getting to the end of the line, they've acquired a bunch of new guys from different systems.
yes,
So
yes.
this team, I think they're fine. Like, they don't have a pass rush, but a lot of teams in this league don't have a great pass rush. I just think this thing will get better.
They've
glue guy on defense?
always been able to create a pass rush through confusion. Man, I've been there. I've been there where we're like, I don't know who to get. Like, what are we going to do? Let's just make something up on the fly. Because you like to have a rule. You know, for me as a player, I mean, I want to have a rule. If I see something, I'm like, here's our rule for it.
Right.
When all of a sudden they show you something that you're like, we don't have a rule for that, that's when, we're all like, who we got? What are we going to do? And they've always been able to create that, and right now they're not creating it.
The thing that you hint at, and Ray, I know you know, no, it's like Brady ran that offense and set a tone for the offense. They used to have a lot of glue guys on the defensive side. Who is their glue guy? Who's the hammer on that side of the ball?
Yeah, there's no leader like that. And that's why I think you asked if Belichick can fix this problem. The only way you can fix it is you have to identify who that guy is.
Well, it was Gerard Mayo for a while.
For a while, right.
Ninkovich. And when Hightower gets hurt, no, it's a real question. They don't have the guy.
They don't have that guy, right. Because you need that one guy when you're on the field in battle. You need that one guy. It can't come from the sideline. You need that one guy to calm everything down, say it's just football, let's figure it out.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're joined now by Fox baseball analyst Nick Swisher and Colin's co-host on The Herd and my favorite host, Christine Leahy. Let's move to New York, where Aaron Judge powered the Yankees to a win in last night's wild card matchup against the Twins. Judge has been compared to Derek Jeter all year, and he lived up to the comparison last night with a postseason debut that number 2 would be proud of. Here's Judge on the playoff atmosphere after the game.
It was extraordinary. They were electric from the first pitch on, and even when we got down early, they were still behind us. Still on their feet, still going crazy, and we just really fed off them tonight.
When I look at Aaron, there's a smile on his face a lot, and there's just something about him, the way he carries himself, that you just feel really good when he's around. When he's at the plate, whether he's playing defense, whether he's standing next to you, waiting for you to come off the field, you just feel really good when he's around. And I felt that, like he's, him and Gardy were saying, let's go, first inning, let's go.
All right, Cowherd, has Judge already become the face of baseball?
Yeah, I mean, isn't the best Yankee player always in the top 2? I went like 18, 20 years. Clemens was, then it was Jeter. And by the way, Don Mattingly on bad Yankee teams was like one of the faces of baseball. That's when the Yankees were bad and nobody went to the games. Then A-Rod came in. Now Judge is. Mariano was a closer. And if you open New York papers, he was all over the ads. He was the most talked about closer in league history. The NBA promotes stars. Baseball doesn't. So by default, it always feels like the best Yankee is the face of baseball.
Well, you know, there was a time when Barry Bonds, whether you liked him or not, clearly to me was the face of baseball. But I'll say this about Aaron Judge. Clearly he wears the right uniform, as you allude to. But as I watched him in the postgame and then just thought about his first playoff performance basically last night, big national TV game, and he hits a home run, and it was Tiger Woods-esque in terms of Tiger Woods early in his career when he burst onto the scene and just dominated everything. Whenever the spotlight was the brightest, that's when he shined the brightest. And so here's Aaron Judge, and then I listened to him in the postgame, and he kind of sounds like Tiger used to sound back when Tiger brought us all joy when he was a great golfer. So the sky's the limit for this kid, not just being the face of baseball. He could become bigger than even that.
Oh my gosh, I mean, just think about it. Just look at him running the bases like he looks like a little kid. I think that's what we need in the game right now. And if you want to talk about popularity, I think a good judgment of popularity would probably be jersey sales. Spending $100 on one of your favorite players, his jersey, #1 in 2017. I'm telling you, this guy he's the athlete that we all want him to be. He's doing it with a smile on his face, man. He looks like a little kid every time he takes the field. And when your best player is pushing the limelight on everybody else, he doesn't want that attention. He's just a totally different guy. He is very secure in who he is and what he brings to the table. And for me, the biggest compliment that I could give him after spending time with this kid, I love him, but the way he is handling all this newfound fame is so amazing. It's inspiring. It should be to all.
He's the biggest little kid I've ever seen in my life. I don't know where he looks like. Maybe in his face, he looks like a little kid. But I remember when we were in Miami for the All-Star game, it felt like all we and everyone else was talking about was Aaron Judge. And when we talk about baseball, that continues to be what we talk about. So yes, he's definitely become the face of baseball right now. And he hits home runs. It's like the guy who dunks in the NBA. It's the kid's favorite because you want to see dunks and you want to see home runs. That's what's fun about going to baseball games.
Well, this has totally been the year of the home run for sure. With Stanton for the push for 60, Judge breaks Babe Ruth's record from 1921 with 33 homers at home.
And also, analytics have helped him. Like, Steph Curry's a great player, but the analytics of basketball have helped Steph because everybody's now promoting the three. If we didn't have a three-pointer in the NBA, Steph would be a really good guard instead of an icon. Baseball analytics changed 5 years ago. We don't care about strikeouts. Well, you know what he is 30 years ago? He's Dave Kingman, who was a niche. That's what he was. Dave Kingman was a high home run, strikeout, couldn't run, no defense.
Colin.
He was niche.
Colin, check the calendar. It's October. You know who else used to strike out a lot? Reggie Jackson. But in October, he delivered. Kid gets his first game in October, punches one out of the park. This is not Dave Kingman. This is potentially...
Dave Kingman was a little bit of a freak show, home run dude.
He was, but this guy's wearing a Yankee uniform, hitting home runs in important games. That is Reggie Jackson in Oakland. That's Reggie Jackson in New York. I want to ask you, since you played with Derek Jeter, and there's some differences here, I think, between Aaron Judge and Derek Jeter. How will Aaron Judge handle that New York spotlight?
Well, I think we're getting a great taste of it already. I think the kid is doing it with just great, he's just such a good kid, his entire story. Coming from Fresno, wasn't really like a huge draft pick. All of a sudden, he's never dominated in any level of play he's ever been to. All of a sudden, he comes to the big leagues and turns into this like humongous, greatest home run hitter, and he's doing it with a smile, man. Like, we love athletes that look like they're having fun out there because we want to be in their shoes. I think for him, he's a good kid. He's the best player on that team, and when he goes, they go.
Will the humility last?
Well, that's what we want. I've gotten to spend some time with him, man, and I like to think I'm a pretty good judge of character, and like, all he wants to do is just go to the ballpark and be with his buddies and compete. He has dove into the process of becoming a great baseball player, and that's exactly what he is.
Is there anyone you don't like? I feel like you're the kind of guy who likes everybody.
I don't know. I feel like, come on, I want to make him feel good. Like, I feel like he's having such a tremendous year, and I think that we need to celebrate these amazing athletes doing it the right way.
Welcome back. Christine Leahy's still here, and we're joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the association. NBA announced yesterday it's changing the format of the All-Star game. They're eliminating Western and Eastern Conference teams. Instead, having the top 2 vote getters draft their own teams. At least one All-Star, Steph Curry, loves the idea, saying it's, quote, it's great for the game. Whitlock, you think this draft will be more entertaining than the actual All-Star game itself?
Yes, but I don't think that's not an indictment of the game, because I actually think the draft may help the game, and the fact that they're playing it for charity may help the game. I like these things because I've learned to hate the NBA All-Star game. It's a travesty to watch. The draft, I think, will be very interesting. And now guys won't get drafted as high as they think. That may give them a little edge. And then playing for charity will embarrass them if you're not playing very hard and you're playing for a charity. So I think the draft will be great, and I think they have probably improved the game.
Most sports are about the team, the shield, the coach, the GM, the system. The NBA is a player league. It's about the star. And here's what I've come to terms with the NBA, and I'm okay with it. It's probably actually good in our business because it gives you stuff to talk about. In the NBA, it's the only league in America where stars doing non-basketball activities, ping pong lottery, draft, combine, whatever, is more interesting than non-stars doing basketball activities. I would rather watch this draft than the Denver Nuggets play. That's just, I'm serious. It's just a star-driven league. I would rather watch Now, I'd rather watch LeBron play and Steph Curry play and Durant play. But if you're giving me the option of all stars
That's an
choosing...
indictment of the NBA.
No, it's an indictment of boring NBA teams.
There's some bad
Non-stars.
NBA teams. But I do want to say this, guys. First of all, LeBron has a huge advantage because he's been the GM of the Cavs already for 4 years. So he's going to have a great time
If
picking.
he's the top vote.
Yes, and he's already putting together the Lakers, as we know. But, you know, when it comes to the actual game, I love the All-Star game, Whitlock. This is the best game of all the leagues for the fans. Right? They love the playground theatrics, the lack of defense, the alley-oops. That's what the fans are for in basketball. They love the highlights, and that's all the game is. Russell Westbrook jacking up shots from 35 feet, scoring 60 points. Fans love that. I love the NBA All-Star game. Honestly, I know you guys don't like it. I'm in love with it.
If they don't air the actual draft, they're doing themselves a tremendous disservice, because this is going to be so interesting, or at least it has the potential to be. And I want this to be done junior high dodgeball style, where you're all lined up, and then the 2 team captains get to choose one by one who they want, so we can see the reactions. Like when Draymond's available, but so is Kyrie. Who's Steph going to choose? Or if Steph chooses Durant and then Westbrook's available, does he choose him? You know, and who's drafted last? I want to see all of that happen.
Yeah, those are stories, and to Christine's point, the NBA does a terrific job creating narratives and stories. I mean, who gets along, the banana boat, Melo, Westbrook. Like, I just think the NBA is really smart on understanding, listen, man, the NFL always understood it's a TV show. Increasingly, the NBA is figuring it out, too.
Well, look, the NBA has despite Jason McIntyre loving it, everybody knows the NBA All-Star game is a travesty and an embarrassment. That's why they're tweaking it and trying to fix it. Hopefully they'll figure out a way to fix it. The NFL's been trying to fix their game, which is even worse than the NBA one. But I agree with Christine. Seriously, there is not a person on the planet that can't relate to the dodgeball line or the pickup basketball game where you're the last person picked, or you picked that guy ahead of me, or you blah, blah, blah. I can't believe that. Look, these NBA players, despite how much money they make, they think the same kind of stupid things we all think.
What about the guys like Paul Millsap and Kemba Walker, who have, you know, bonuses tied to being an All-Star because you're in the East, where there's not a lot of talent, and now you have no shot of getting to the All-Star.
No, that's not how it is. The fans are still voting. It's just the people who are, the teams will be decided by the players.
Right.
The fans are still voting.
So do you think any of the players are going to take some of these middle tier stars?
No, they're taking all of them.
Yeah, you'll be like the
guys.
You'll be the kid in high school that was the last kid picked.
So pretty much like me in pickup basketball.
Right, well,